evening and welcome to another special episode of the Just Danny Show. I'm going to be going over what happened at the candidate forum yesterday that Jay Bryan with South Lake TV held for all the candidates across the board as far as cities. So you had Manila there, you had Groveland, and of course Claremont. And I'm just going to put it out there. I did not see Manila. I left at that point. Just so you know, I initially thought that they were going to have all of them up there and all at once and just ask questions across the board to all of the candidates in Claremont, Groveland, and Manila. But what they ended up doing was separating it. So they had Groveland candidates and incumbents up first, and then Claremont. And like I said, Manila was last, and I didn't stay. I had left. So, but I do want to say that I'm very proud of the candidates that showed up for Claremont because they were brilliant. I think, in my personal opinion, because I only saw Groveland. I didn't see Manila. I left. But compared to Groveland, I think that they outshined Groveland in intelligence. Their speaking ability. It was just, they were brilliant. I do want to give them kudos for doing extremely well. Again, big thanks to Jay Bryan and Shauna Vaughn for putting that on. It was a great event. There was a lot of people that showed up. But with that being said, I also wanted to point out that the incumbents did not attend. All three of them declined Jay Bryan's invite to show up. Now, why is that? Well, we're not dumb. We know why, because they're dumb and they can't be in a room with their opponents because there's just no going up against them, especially Gonzo and Allison. Allison is extremely intelligent. I've said this over and over again. And Gonzo speaks in word salad. He's borderline a moron. No, he is a moron. So he obviously wants to steer clear of Allison because he would look like a rock next to her. So I can see why he wouldn't go. Michelle, I don't know if she's scared because she's stupid too, or maybe she just doesn't know her shit. She can read stuff and just regurgitate it. A lot of people do that, and that makes them sound halfway intelligent, but really all she's doing is she's memorizing shit. And I've said this for years about her. I don't think she understands what the fuck she's reading or comprehending. So in my opinion, she just reads and regurgitates just so she can seem like she knows what the fuck she's talking about. And then Murray, he's just an idiot. He's just an idiot. So, I think they were scared and that's why they didn't show up, but I digress. But anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the questions and what these candidates responded. And I just did, I didn't write down verbatim, of course, what the questions were. I just wrote down what the subject matter was, and then in a nutshell, shorthanded, like what they wrote in shorthand, pretty much what they said. So it's not going to be verbatim, but just to give you an idea of what their answers were and what the questions pertain to. So the first question that was asked was in regard to traffic. Of course, you can't go in a candidate forum and not hear a question regarding traffic, especially with Claremont. So anyway, so the first question was on traffic, and Rick Van Wagner, who's running for seat 1 against Murray, the idiot boy, he basically answered it to where he would like to get with the county and establish a good relationship with the county as well as the state and the surrounding municipalities. So he feels like if he, gets into a good relationship, again, state, county, and the surrounding municipalities, and have a joined effort on working on the traffic issues, that would be a good thing. So he said that he needed to develop a strategic relationship with the other, state, county, city. So he didn't really come up with, an answer per se to the traffic problems, but he just wanted to mention that he believes in order to even start on something like that, you would have to have strategic relationships with state, county, and city. So Bill, who is Bill Peterson, he'll be on the ballot, I believe, as William Bill, in quotes, Peterson. He is running against Psycho Michelle Pines for seat 5. And his response was he believes that that the traffic problems just aren't on 50 and 27. We have to look at it as a whole, basically. And he feels like we need to create new infrastructure to handle some of the traffic issues. And again, not just pertaining to 27 and 50, but he said create new infrastructure such as golf carts, And he said he wants to establish a teamwork approach. So everybody's on the same team. So that kind of echoed what Rick said, probably relationships with city, county, and state. So he wants a teamwork approach as in other municipalities. So back to creating the new infrastructure, he mentioned, like I said, golf carts, bike trails, and then seniors and younger people, for I guess trails for seniors and younger people. So basically, he wants to create new infrastructure to help alleviate the traffic. And then Allison, who is Allison Strange, of course, she's running for seat 1, and that's against Gonzo, the word salad moron. She said she wants to address the underlying problem and not just the symptoms when it comes to traffic. Again, like I just did shorthand on this. So then the next question up had to do with the budget, and then Bill Peterson chimed in that he would like to obviously review the budget and see where we can save money, and obviously lower the millage rate. So saving money isn't necessarily taking away from police and fire, by the way. It's top-heavy departments. Stoney Brunson, for instance, he has, last time I checked 2 years ago, and we made a statement about this during public comments, that he literally has 5 managers under him. Do we really need that many managers? He's the manager. He's the head dick, right? So why do we need 5 more beneath him? So Bill wants to take a look at saving money in other departments, and which you can trim the fat real easily off departments such as that. But his main concern and what his platform has been right along since he got out of the gate was to lower the millage rate. So he's definitely wanting to lower the millage rate. And then Allison chimed in next. She said that it's kind of foolish to think if you're not growing, you're dying, because a lot of people in the industry will say, well, if your city's not growing and you're not getting all this residential coming in, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're not dying. And she says that's a foolish way to think. If you're not growing, you're dying. She goes, but she says what you need to think about is what's good for the land. And if you've watched her page and been on her page, she's made videos about this. She's interested to know what is good for that land. What is good for that piece of property? So she wants to know what is the problem and not focus so much on the symptom. And again, you need to go to her page because she's constantly has talked about doing form code. So she said we should have green space. She wants to avoid a concrete jungle, and it's insane to raise the millage rate. You can absolutely make cuts, let's see. I'm trying to read my notes. I apologize. Take government money. We are taking money from the people. Okay. She's tired of the government taking money from the people. So, and of course, she's for rolling back the millage rate. She wants to roll it back. And Bill, in essence, when he says lower the millage rate, I believe it's obviously what he meant is to roll it back. So Allison is looking at it very methodically and intelligently, in my opinion, because she you don't, it's like with triage, you know what I mean? You don't already want to, we're triaging the entire city of Claremont right now because we're bleeding, right? We're bleeding money, we're bleeding people, like as far as staff and stuff. And then, we're falling apart because of mismanagement. I like her way of thinking. I like her thought process on that very much so. And then Rick piped up next. He said that he wasn't really concerned with the growth, but he doesn't want to tax he believes don't tax the citizen. Don't put the burden on citizens, put the burden on the development. And then do that with a lower millage. So he feels like less government and more about the citizens. So now, probably our city manager or the incumbents would say, well, we changed the impact fees for the developers, we raised the impact fees or whatever. But a lot of the time, it's not just about impact fees. It's about deals that you can make as well. Like, you could negotiate, hey, pay for the school. Let's negotiate that. We'll not charge you as much in impact fees, but we want you to pay for the school we're going to need for your development, or we want you to pay for these additional roads. I just feel like, and this is me, this is not Rick talking. I just wanted to make that clear. In my opinion, I think we don't wheel and deal. I don't know if it's out of pure laziness or just like, okay, just, here's the schedule, impact fees, we collect that and we're done. I don't know if it's laziness, they just don't care, but I feel like we should be doing a lot more negotiations. We still have the power as a city, and I think that we should get a little bit more creative with how we do things when it comes to developers. Make them pay for the roads, make them, like I said, or half the school, or donate a parcel for the school. I think we just need to get more creative with that. But I do agree with Rick that it's less government, more about the citizens, and we don't need to put the burden on the citizens in regard to development. It's always been said that development and growth never pays for itself. It just doesn't. And we need to figure out a way to do it, because Wellness Way is going to kill Claremont. It's going to choke us out. But that's a whole nother can of worms for a different day. Anyway, and then Allison said to roll back. Again, she's real adamant about rolling back the millage rate. And see if she could even go deeper than that regarding a rollback. Like, let's, back, we could have done like 3.9% millage back in 2022. She did study the budget back then, but remember, none of the incumbents at that time wanted to listen to her. But the greatest strength, she said, we have is we are growing. She said that is a strength, is that we're growing, because it drives up the price of homes. But she said that they have an opportunity, a huge opportunity, to roll back the millage rate and make more taxes at the same time. So, and I believe her because I think she's intelligent enough. She's very good with budgets. She's no stranger to a budget. So she says that they can roll it back and still make more tax money. So I'm excited, if she does get voted in, to see that happen and what ideas she has to have that happen. Again, it's just all about strategy, intelligence, and being creative and thinking outside the box, which our current council does not. And actually the last several council members have not. And then Rick, lastly, with that question, said he believes, he wants to also roll back the millage rate, and he wants to, just tighten our belt. And you can do that. Again, I talked about Sonny Bronson's position. He's got 5, at least 2 years ago. I haven't looked since. So, but 2 years ago, as of 2 years ago, he had 5 managers underneath him. We don't need that. Get rid of some of this brass. So, certainly tighten our belt. And our numbers will grow with new business and new houses, new homes. He says you just got to be smart about it. So And the man runs a huge business. I'm pretty sure he's no stranger to budgets. And then, I'm sorry. And then I forgot to mention Bill. Bill said, again, he wants to roll it back. So, the common denominator here with these three candidates are obviously they all want to roll back the millage rate. Okay, and then there's something I want to add at the end regarding millage rate and how stupid Michelle and Gonzo are, and probably Murray, but he hasn't said anything about it. But Gonzo and Michelle spewed out of their mouth, and they're liars, or they're just idiots. But we'll get to that toward the end. But that's what you need to know is the candidates, all three want to roll back your millage rate. The ones that are currently the incumbents do not. Yet they think because they keep it the same, they are not raising it. And again, I'll get to that. And if you've watched Allison's page, you already know what I'm going to say. But anyway, he says he wants to roll it back. This is Bill. He thinks that all the council members have to be in sync with that. They should be in sync with that. He goes, look in areas to save money. Look for outsourcing. That is key. Look for outsourcing. Because if you outsource things and don't have a full-blown staff, but you outsource things, you can actually save money. How can you save money? Well, they're not, there every day, clocking in, clocking out, and you don't have to pay, for insurance and all that kind of thing, So it's cheaper to outsource. So again, these these candidates seem to be thinking outside of the box and coming up with creative ways. One, again, like Bill said, looking for outsourcing. And why can't I read on my writing? I was writing to look for outsourcing and and redundancy in employment. Make people happy to live in Claremont, not make it a sprawl. And actually, Florida statute reads you should not do sprawl, but that's exactly what Claremont is looking like. The next question was in regard to small business. One that the incumbent Michelle Pines thinks that she's all for and tries to push when really she hurts small business, and we'll get to that too. But anyway, Rick started out with answering the small business question. He says, I want to help the downtown to grow. Consideration to larger businesses. New growth, he says it has to just pay, it has to pay for new growth, has to pay for new growth. Again, we're not taking it out of the citizen's ass, right? So recruiting business outside the area. And he believes that we're not a business-friendly city, and we're not. And why aren't we? Because the city, i.e. the city staff at the behest of the city manager, makes it difficult for businesses to come here with all the hoops they have to jump through, from permitting to even fire, make it difficult for businesses to come here. But yet we're very lenient. Now, Purvis was huge on he loved residential, and I used to give him shit up there at the podium, like, why do you give such shit and a hard time to commercial? And you just, here's the Vaseline, and bend over to developers for residential. We're looking at this backwards, folks, and we finally have some smart people that are looking at it correctly. It's all about business. Business makes the world go round, not residential. We need to get the people that live here in Claremont jobs. And like both Allison and Rick have said, we don't want, even our kids when they start working, we don't want them to have to drive to Orlando or even Winter Garden for that matter. We want to keep our families here and the jobs here and create jobs, good paying jobs, which would be bring in bigger businesses, box stores or, something to that in that capacity, but good paying jobs. Also, whatever businesses do happen to come in, they could be entertainment. Give our kids something to do. So that's really smart to not make it so difficult for businesses to come here to begin with. So That's why Rick believes he should be recruiting outside the area and then make it more business friendly for them. Because, like I said, at the behest of the city manager, the city staff just makes it difficult, and even fire makes it difficult. It's ridiculous what they do to the businesses coming in here. So it's a deterrent. They don't want to come here, so we just keep getting more residential. Bill said, in regard to that question, business tax needs to be abolished. And the current council members, the incumbents, and they just talked about this during the workshop because Todd brought it up. He wanted to abolish the business tax. And Murray was not for it. He wanted the business tax to remain. Chief Azell spoke on it. And, it's just some other bullshit to collect money. And it's not so much the cost of it. It's I can't remember what they said it was. It's not very much, but the thing is they have to have fire come out, and it's just a pain in the ass. I mean, if something was even $5, but you had to jump through 3 hoops and pay the $5, that's what becomes the burden. Not the money so much. It's the process in order to get your yearly business license with the business tax. Is like you have to jump through these hoops. You have to have fire come out. And here's the kicker. And this happened to a business owner downtown. I won't mention names, but they had to go in front of code enforcement because life had happened to this business owner. I don't remember. I'm trying to think if it was a death in the family. Something, it was life. Okay, life happened to this business owner. And they inadvertently spaced off and forgot to pay their yearly business tax receipts. And so code enforcement went out there and wrote them up. And I believe they were getting fined. I think it was $200, and it was at the very least, I remember it was $250 a day they were being fined for forgetting to, and not purposely, it wasn't nefarious. Oh, I don't want to pay my $25 or whatever it is. It was just life happened. Shit got away from this person, and it was not in the forefront of their mind, of their brain to get this, pay this business tax license. So, $250 a day, and had to go in front of code enforcement for it. They ended up bringing those fines down a little bit, but he still had to pay a substantial amount in fines. It was ridiculous. Do you see the ridiculousness in this? But Murray is a huge supporter of this. Azell is a huge supporter of this. Michelle, huge supporter. So Bill wants to abolish the business tax. He wants to help small businesses to grow, not burden them with excess taxes. Of course, he also wants to stimulate business that's already in the downtown. And then Allison chimed in. She believes that they should take a bottom-up approach to the choices that we are making. She says, I want to hear from the citizens. And what she means by bottom-up approach is... it's like, I remember there's a term for it. It's like a reverse, I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart. There was like a reverse something. So basically a bottom up is like you flip the script, right? You usually have the head dick at the top. Then you have, the next in charge, the next in charge, the next in charge. And then like the piddly citizens are way down here. Well, she wants a bottom up approach. It's like where you're inverting the hierarchy basically. And she wants to hear from the citizens first. She wants to put them first and foremost in regard to this. She says, I want to hear from the citizens. She says that the council serves the citizens. Staff serves the citizens. How many of you have gone into a council meeting or just watched it on South Lake TV and thought, God, they're so rude. Like Murray... Michelle, they talk down to the citizens that come up to public comments. They're always talking down to them, telling them beforehand what they can say and what they cannot say, which is illegal. Against statute. And Murray always makes it sound like, you can't talk mean to them when that's absolutely your constitutional right. But they're always talking down to you. They're always, especially Michelle. I used to have nicknames. Well, I still do have nicknames for every one of them. But when she first started out 4 years ago, I called her Mama because she always acted like a mom, just, belittling them and like, shaking her finger at you, like, you don't do that. And just being like, treating you like a child. And so I like her approach to this, her thought process on this, and she's putting it back into perspective because they do serve us. We pay for them. We pay their paychecks. Like, we're the ones that, give them their salary. So you damn skippy they serve us, but they forget that. We almost feel like we are serving them. Because first and foremost, you will notice the incumbents, especially Michelle, Murray most of the time, but Michelle's really hardcore on this. She is so for staff, giving them raises and they need this and they need that. You would think that the council works for staff. They don't. The council works for the people that elected them to put their fat asses in those chairs. Gonzo, Murray, and Pines, don't ever forget that, because you have. You forgot that. The minute you got sworn in and got your little power, you totally forgot who put you in those seats. You forgot where your $500 a month comes from, Michelle and Gonzo. And Murray, your $600. The city, the constituents paid for your new car, Murray. They forgot. They have totally misplaced who has the power. So I like Allison's thought process here. Again, council serves the citizens. Staff serves the citizens. And she says, I just want to hear what the small business citizens need. And again, that form-based code that she had brought up several times in her videos on her Facebook. By the way, if you're not following her Facebook page, I highly encourage you to. She has some great little live videos that she does. And she brings some great ideas, and then she explains herself very well. Some people can just talk so fluidly and just elegantly, and you really, even if you're a type of person that can't really grasp what people are saying, with her, you don't have to. She explains herself so very eloquently and very well to where like a kindergartner could understand her. But she does it without being demeaning like Michelle, like talking down to you like you're a child and stupid. She's just very good at what she does, and I really hope that she wins. But if you want to know more information about the form-based code topic, go visit her page, and she has some videos about it. But I really liked what she had to say in regard to small business. Next question was development. Bill said he wants to be constantly thinking about green space between development. Multimodality, not just car dependent. Again, earlier he said create infrastructure such as bike trails and just trails in general and some and golf carts. So not just car dependent. And he said that trees are a very important part of green space. And if you remember, we used to have a code on the books where if you were a developer and you were developing a parcel and you had to mow down a bunch of trees to do your deed, they would require you to replace so many trees or give so much money for landscaping. And they have since changed that. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was last year they changed that code around where they're not requiring that anymore. So it's pretty gross. And like Allison had said previously when I was reading her responses, she doesn't want a concrete jungle. So again, I think these candidates, like Bill said earlier as well here, they need to be in unison. They need to be in sync, is what he said. So we are very blessed right now to have 3 candidates that all are on the same page, with a plus that they have a moral compass, with a plus that they're intelligent. How refreshing is this? But it's very, and you're probably going to say, well, Gonzo, Michelle, and Murray are pretty much in sync. Yeah, they're in sync with their stupidity, their evilness, and destroying our city. That's what they're in sync with. They're in sync with bad decisions and stupidity. These three are in sync with doing the right thing, intelligence, thinking outside of the box, and so forth. So I'm really excited for these three candidates. You know, like looking at them as individuals, are they like, oh, the ultimate best for the seat? Maybe not. You know, because nobody's perfect, and I'm not trying to say that, but I'm very excited because I think that they all are very worthy of the seat, and they should be in the seats compared to what we have up there now, for sure. Because again, there's no perfect candidate. I mean, I'm sure at some point, if they do get elected, one of these candidates might piss you off at some point, and they're not always going to vote how you want them to vote. But I think with these three people, we at least have a shot that they're going to do the right thing, and we don't have to have government oversight on them as much because we already know what they're about. Now, unless they totally change their platform once they get in, and, you know, because some elected officials, when they're campaigning, they'll say what they need to say to get elected, right? But I really don't get that vibe off of any of these three. I really think that they're going to be good. So Bill is really adamant about green space and trees, and I think that's a great thing because for our grandchildren, even our children, depending on how little your actual children are, we don't want to make Claremont a concrete jungle, like Allison said. We want to make it as pretty and as lovely and comfortable and safe as we possibly can. We don't need to look like a Chicago or New York City with these sky-rise, apartments. Don't get me started on that shit show on Hooks right now. Angie Langley was part of that, so. Remember after she gave $500 to Michelle's campaign, right? Do you remember that? And then she came in front of her 2 years ago and pitched that bullshit, but I digress. Anyways, so then Allison said in regard to development, I'd like to see green space between cities. One solution is not going to work in every situation. So you can't just make a blanket statement and say, well, we want to require this for the green space as a whole, because every situation is going to be different. Again, that's thinking outside of the box and not being lazy and just, putting a label on something that we just do it this way. So she said, again, one solution is not always going to work, for every situation. She says we have to be open to any situation that's going to help us achieve that solution. We all need to work together to make things happen. So, again, she's very adamant about listening to the citizens and working with the citizens, because it's not just like currently it's the council staff and the city manager against the citizens. We're not working together at all. Matter of fact, the last 4 years, I would like probably to say that maybe the last 6 to 8 years, they've been working against us. Even more so these last 4 years. They've been working against us, that we feel like they're against us. And that's horseshit. Because again, we voted to put them up there. We pay for their salaries, inclusive of staff. They work for us. But that's not how it is. It's flipped. So then Rick said that he believes that we are grossly behind in our infrastructure. He says, I'm not anti-development. He says, if you're going to create a problem, i.e. developer, he said, if you're going to create a problem, the developer is, you need to challenge them to do what's right. So if you've got a developer that comes in and he creates more traffic, even though per Florida statute, the council is not allowed to oppose or deny development based on traffic. They're not allowed to do that. Matter of fact, I think state legislature should change that. I really do. That's horse shit, because the state is really what's fucking us with that statute. So, but you do have to mitigate it somehow. But they can't deny you a development based on traffic, because if the traffic already existed prior to their development and they're just adding to it, making it worse, but it was already fucked, they can't be denied. They do have to mitigate it, however. So are we making them mitigate it to the fullest extent? Well, I believe, if I remember correctly in reading the statute, there's a certain math formula where they have to do a certain percentage of mitigation. So, but maybe there's other things outside of the state law that, we can do where it comes in here where he says that we need to challenge the developer to do what's right. So, and I wholeheartedly believe that, but when you look at the statute, again, there's a certain percentage that they have to pay to mitigate the situation. Outside of state law, I'm not sure how much we can really do, but maybe there's something we could do. I don't know, but it wouldn't hurt, because he's thinking outside the box, to actually look into it and at least try to look into it. And instead of just reading the statute and going, well, the statute's the statute, there could be some other options that we could help to soften the blow with that extra traffic. And it might not be traffic, it could be, something that's not as strict with state law. It could be like the tree situation. We obviously have say over the tree situation. We could take that code and change it back to what it was and make them pay to replace those trees. So something like that we could challenge them on by changing the code. So in some aspects, specifically traffic might be a little bit more difficult, like I said, because it's state law. They only have to mitigate so much of a percentage. But again, trees or maybe something else. So I like his way of thinking. And then he says, do things that benefit people long term, not short term. Council needs to work together. Do you see this as kind of like a common topic or a theory here with between the three the three candidates working together? That's constantly coming out of their mouth. Working together, collaborate, and do all this kind of stuff. Like they constantly are talking. This is like a main theme between the council members, and that's really cool. And he says he's not thrilled about doing new things right in a row, because that is very, overwhelming. It's overwhelming to our infrastructure. It's overwhelming to the people, because if you're going to have more traffic and, or detours and all this shit, it's very overwhelming if you do too much at one time. Literally from, putting too much weight on our infrastructure and detours and just workers in the road and, backed up traffic because of the detour. I mean, you have to do things slowly. You can't just slap up 80 fucking multifamilies, right? You just can't, because it's just overwhelming for our infrastructure, inclusive of our schools. So do one thing that's big maybe, and then take a chill pill. So I love that. I love that he said that. Bedroom communities and create jobs is what he mentioned there at the end. Allison said, I'd like government to get out of the way. And I just wanted to let you know, when she said that, everybody in the room there clapped. She says, I just want government to get out of the way, and through economic development. I love that. She says, we have no economic development going on. Our code I was a little messy with my writing. Something to form. Okay, she wants to convert. I think that's an R. Convert to form-based code. Again, if you want her to expound on the form-based code and what she means by that, I'm going to reiterate, go to her Facebook page and go to one of her live videos, and she will explain it to you. So she is adamant that we need to convert to a form-based code that would encourage jobs. She says it would relieve in the power of free market. I think that's relieve. Boy, I've got to get better with my writing. Was writing a little too fast. Then Rick, we have to get out of the way as a government. So he echoed what Allison said. She says, take the handcuffs off. of small business. So they are well aware that the city of Claremont makes it very difficult for small businesses and even bigger businesses to come in. So he wants to take the handcuffs off of small business, and he wants the government to get out of the way. Stability, accountability, wise about spending money, and of course he reiterated what Allison said. He wants to listen to the citizens. Isn't this refreshing? Listen to the citizens. Bill, he said we should solicit bigger business and respect small businesses. Can't keep raising the millage rate. Think like a business person. That's what's wrong. The council members clearly right now, the incumbents, are not. The only business owner up there is Todd. The rest of them don't work. Gonzo, whatever the hell he does. But they certainly don't run businesses. They have no idea. You have to think like a businessman. And for you lefty loonies that are watching, trigger alert, that's why when Trump came on the scene in 2016, he was that change that the United States needed, because he was not the establishment. He did not think like a politician. He approached the presidency as a businessman. And I believe in local politics, you also have to approach government as a business, because it is a business. The city makes money so the city can supply services for the citizens that elect these motherfuckers to sit up there. It is a business. Government is a business. And if you don't have a business like mind, or you've never run a business, or you don't currently own a business, you are going to be clueless and useless as tits on a nun. And that's what we're dealing with the last 4 years, even prior to that. You have to be a business owner. So think about that when you go to the polls on November 5th. So again, he said, think like a business person. That's how we need, there you go. That's how we need to run our city. Bravo, Bill. Would that have come out of his opponent's mouth, Michelle? No. Rights to develop property. He believes in your right to develop property. And I believe that too, as long as it goes with the comp plan. Again, we don't need multifamily all over the fucking place. Rick, if pre-approved, it's pre-approved when he's talking about development. So, this goes back to saying that if it's something that they don't need to come before the council on, as far as a CUP or a PUD, if it's pre-approved, it's pre-approved, right? They really can't do anything about it. But he said the gotcha is the variances. So lots of times, even though they can build whatever the hell they want there because it's pre-approved, like it's a, residential or commercial, mixed use, whatever, they will still sometimes, and most of the time, a large percentage of the time, they will still need to come before the council for a variance of some sort. So he says that's where the gotcha is. That's where the city can basically dick up and say, no, we're not going to allow you that variance. Or if you want that, then we need this from you. Again, this is about strategic negotiations. Again, run it like a business. You are a businessman or you're a businesswoman sitting up there. Negotiations are a priority in business. You're always negotiating, whether it be price or contracts, whatever. You're always in a constant state of negotiations. But right now we have stupid people that are occupying seats up there. They might as well be blow-up dolls that don't know how to negotiate, that don't run a business. They don't understand it. And they're lazy. Pure laziness will get you not to do shit either. So all of the above. Lazy, don't own a business, unintelligent, and they don't know how to negotiate. You need to come to the table and you need to negotiate. So that was a really smart thing Rick said. That's how you circumvent the whole, well, if it's pre-approved, it's pre-approved, but we can get you with the variances that you're asking for. Tit for tat. Tit for tat. Well, if you want that, how about you do this? All about negotiations. And then Bill said, do we let developers control us or do we control them? That's the best fucking thing I heard all day yesterday. Do we let the developers control us, or do we control them? And I'm just going to say it because I say what you're thinking anyway. Love me or hate me. Aside from Todd up there, and this is inclusive of Chandra, the four are pussies. That's right, I said it with a capital P. They're pussies. Michelle has always been a pussy. She will not stand up to developers. Oh, because we're going to get sued. We have to. Again, it goes back to what Rick said. Yes, pre-approved is pre-approved, but you can fuck them with the variance situation and get what you want via that. But she's too stupid. They're too stupid. They're too lazy. They don't run businesses. They don't know how to negotiate. But they're pussies because they don't try. They don't want to fuck up the status quo. Oh, God forbid we should go to litigation, which Dan doesn't even do. He's not a litigator. They farm that shit out to an expensive law firm to do all the litigation. And the only reason why we're in litigation is because they're up there making stupid fucking decisions. Not because they grew some balls and decided to think outside the box and back their shit up with state law and being creative with smart negotiation tactics. No. They make stupid decisions that they should know right off bat in black and white. Know that that's stupid. They shouldn't have done that. That's how we get into lawsuits, because they're stupid, not because they buck up. I love that, Bill. I love that. If you're listening, do we let developers control us, or do we control them? Get back in the driver's seat, Claremont. I mean, literally, I've only been here 10 years. I didn't get into local politics until about 6 years ago. But into the 6 years that I've been around in that capacity, I have never once seen the council as a whole. Maybe one rando here and there, but the council, again, unity. They have to work together. They have to be in sync. Never have I seen in 6 years the entire council buck up and control a developer and go, look here, And this is why 2 years ago when I ran, developers poured money into Murray, because they knew that I was going to be the one to buck up. That's why Murray got all the money from the developers. Huge money, big money, even from Republicans, because they knew that I was going to be like this. I was going to buck up, and they did not want that. So they tried their damnedest and poured money into Murray, and it worked because he had way more money than me. But this makes me so happy that these three candidates, Bill said it point blank. The other two are alluding to it, right? He said it flat out. Or do we control them? Could you imagine having, and I know Todd would go along with this, right? Could you imagine having an entire council sitting up there to developers? I can't wait. So after he said that, he said, we need growth with a purpose. And of course, he's mentioning green space in it. Again, growth, green space, council. And again, here we go again. I should go back on this pad here and see how many times these candidates have mentioned council needs to work together. Your only strength up there is in numbers. One person can't do it. I mean, we're living it. We're watching it go down live right now. Todd is the only one up there that has any balls, but he can't do it alone. He cannot do it alone. He just can't. That's why it's so important and so exciting. And I want you to put this in your head that all three of these candidates are saying the same thing repeatedly throughout yesterday. Work together, establish relationships, being in sync. We need to be in sync. You're strong in numbers. One person can't do it up there. Todd is drowning. He's drowning up there. Not because he lacks the intelligence or, strength mentally or verbally or whatever. Not because he's a pussy. It's because he's only one vote. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not rocket science. He's only one vote. He's drowning. He needs help. On November 5th, please send in the soldiers, the troops, to help Todd, help you. Because ultimately it's helping you. That's why I always said, help me, help you. Because that's all I wanted to do. And I still, in a different capacity than sitting up there making decisions. But like, help Todd help you by getting these 3 others voted in so they can work together, as they've been saying right along. Work together to buck these developers. Buck up to them. How refreshing would that be to actually, I think we'd get a hell of a lot more people attending these council meetings, because it would be great. It would almost be like a sporting event. Ding, 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 like boxing. These 3 candidates have some balls. We currently have pussies up there. They're an embarrassment is what they are. Bending over with a jar of Vaseline to our developers that are not good. Now, there are some good developers, but most of them are greedy pieces of shit. And then Allison lastly said, what kind of developers do we want? Find a way, and I cannot read that last word, and I apologize, Allison. Oh, find a way to say yes. My pen gave out there. Find a way to say yes. What kind of developers do we want? And let's find a way to say yes to them. But the good ones, is I'm guessing what she meant by that. Because I know she's just not going to want to say yes to everybody, anything that comes our way. So what I wanted to go back and touch on, because I did mention it earlier, was the fact that Michael Gonzalez speaks on his website. Terrible. Do spell check. Spell checks matter. Hashtag Gonzo. And I made a post, if you want to go look on my Facebook page, about his error in spell check. But he does state on his website that I've never raised your taxes. I will never raise your taxes, and I haven't raised your taxes. Again, this is on Allison's page too, if you want to hear it come out of her mouth. But I said this 2 years ago too, during the election process. I said, and she's saying as well, more eloquently, not rolling back the millage rate is in fact raising taxes. Now, for the smart people out there, you know what I mean by that. But for the people that aren't really into the millage rate thing, or young homeowners that are just now getting into this kind of responsibility, if you don't roll it back, it stays the same. So they think, oh, well, we're not raising the taxes. This is how stupid Gonzo is. But in fact, you are, because what happens every year? Your homes go up in value. They are assessed higher. Now, Michelle will argue that there's a cap, right? You're homesteaded beside that, but there's also a cap. It can only go up to a certain amount. We understand that. But what about the business owners? Okay, and before you reach that cap, Psycho Pines, you're paying more and more and more every year if you keep the millage rate the same, because your house is being assessed at a higher rate every year, a higher amount. Look at your trim notice. I'm sure y'all got your trim notices by now. Look at your assessed value from this year to last year. Now, while your millage rate is staying the same, look at them on that Claremont line. Look how much more you're going to be paying on taxes than last year. So did in fact Michael raise your taxes? That's a big fat yes. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Because he didn't roll it back. And again, your value was assessed higher. Therefore, you're paying more taxes this year, even though the millage rate stayed the same. This is how fucking dumb he is. And Michelle tries to justify it. She's stupid too. She thinks like Gonzo too. But then when you pull the whole it's assessed higher, she said, well, there's a cap. Well, what about your business owners? Business owners don't get homesteaded. They don't get that cap. They have to pay out the ass. And then who suffers because of that? They're renters. Look what happened with the Mexican food restaurant. I'm having a brain fart. The name of the Los Reyes. Well, look what happened to them. They rumor has it that their rent went up, so they left. Now they're in a food truck at Asshole's place. Why does rent go up? Because their taxes go up. And then, of course, insurance has nothing to do with the city. But, everybody's insurance went up. My insurance in my home tripled because of the bullshit in Tallahassee. So between higher taxes, higher insurance, people have to charge their tenants more money, and then they go out of business. So, Michelle, are you really helping small business? Are you? Are you really helping small business by not rolling back that millage rate? You're so into small business. Tito, get me a tissue. No, you're not. You're a fucking idiot, Michelle. Because by not rolling back the millage rate, you're harming small business. You just saw it with Los Reyes. And these are the people that run your city, folks. These are people that you elected. Feel bad yet? Do you feel dumb yet? Please make up for it. If you voted for Michelle or Gonzo or Murray last time, make up for that and vote correctly on November 5th. Because these people understand that we need to roll it back. Do you really want a guy in there, Gonzo, saying, I never raised taxes? Yes, you did, you stupid ass. Because you didn't roll it back. And my shit's assessed higher. And again, we're looking at businesses. Businesses are really getting fucked with them not rolling back the millage rate. Stupid is as stupid does. They're stupid. They are so stupid. So that's all I have on what happened yesterday. Again, they all did very, very, very well. I felt proud for them because, like I said, I had to sit through Groveland. Not impressed with Groveland's city council. Matter of fact, they probably looked like if we had Gonzo, Murray, and Michelle sitting up there. They were compatible with their stupidity. The incumbents were. So it's probably why they didn't show up. They were too scared because they didn't want to look dumb. Because they are dumb. They are dumb. So anyway, that is the scoop. I will I may be coming back at you this week after tomorrow's council meeting. There's something a little interesting on that agenda that I wanted to address. So probably more than likely I'll be coming back at you on Wednesday following that council meeting just to give you the breakdown and what happened. So that being said, thank you for joining me. And as usual, if you ever have any questions in regard to anything, go ahead and feel free to message me on Facebook or good old-fashioned email insideclaremont@gmail.com. Thanks so much. Have a good night. Bye-bye.